Joe Swanson, the heroic cop who dedicates his life to protecting the inhabitants of Quahog and stopping only the vilest criminals in their tracks. He's literally committed tons of horrendous crimes, which I'll be punishing by the real-life laws of Rhode Island and ranking in sentence length order for you. When Joe's not at work, he can normally be found drinking with his buddies at the Drunken Clam, or, pulling over people driving drunk.
Brian?
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
Pretty good. You were doing a little swerving back there.
Yeah, well, me and the boys were just,
Whoa, you're off the meter, Brian. You're under arrest.
Oh, come on.
Move it! Hey, one of you guys all right to drive?
Yeah, I can do it.
Great. I'll meet you at the Drunken Clam. We'll tie one up.
Now, I wouldn't call Joe the most sensible drinker, but one night he truly embodied the name of that bar.
Joe, you're drunk, okay? You're drunk. Give me your keys. And I'm drunk, so I'll give you my keys. Okay, now we're both good to drive home.
I don't think that's how it works, Peter. Actually, hold on. Maybe they're onto something.
You been drinking tonight, sir?
No, officer. I just had a glass of dinner with my wine.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to step out of the car and walk a straight line, please.
Oh, no, they're just that drunk. He's lucky he only got caught by Peter. Had a real cop pulled over Joe and breathalyzed him, he'd be jailed for 12 months. Plus, he could be banned from driving for years. But how is he able to drive anyway? He's supposed to be paralyzed from the waist down. I don't get it. Give me answers, Family Guy. I thought Joe's DUI was the worst we'd ever seen him drunk, but then I remembered that episode where he became so intoxicated he actually broke into Peter's work and stripped down to his birthday suit. Quagmire has just returned from his vacation and tells Peter he smuggled back some fireworks in his butt despite them being legal. That's how he gets his sick kicks, I guess. The guys have some fun with the dangerous explosives, but dumb old Peter playing with fireworks means he's guaranteed to lose at least multiple body parts.
I took 10 M80s and stuck them all together. I call it Peter Griffin's bunker busting mega ultra super. Holy crap!
The family scrambles around for Peter's dismembered fingers, and that explosion must have been dang powerful as one chubby digit flew all the way to Cleveland's house and landed in his hair. After getting his fingers sewn back on, Peter celebrates the guys at the Drunken Clam, but the bartender's closing for the night, and he's not even drunk yet. The audacity. Instead of calling it a night or just going to another bar that's open, the boozers break into the brewery after hours thinking it's all fine and dandy just because Peter works there. Well, it definitely is not okay to enter without permission, and it's certainly not okay for them to drink hundreds of beer bottles and then contaminate the rest of the booze with their naked bodies.
Okay, guys, here's one. If you were God, who would you strike down first?
Deborah Messing. I find her insufferable.
There's no way at least one of them didn't fart in there, man. This beer is extra bubbly. While it was all Peter's idea to trespass into the brewery,
Hey, what do you guys say we take this party on the road?
Joe wasn't forced to go, and there's no way he didn't help polish off all those beer bottles. That means he can be charged with trespassing and theft. Both crimes are punishable by a year in prison, so that's another 2 years for Joe that he'll be spending in the slammer. How do you like your steak? Well done? Medium rare? Would you like a side of bullets to go with it? Probably not. Peter's supposed to be visiting the doctor for a health checkup because just to look at him make him die of a heart attack at any moment. And that day may be today because he's ditched the physical to dine at a steakhouse with his friends. The fat man chows down 17 16-ounce steaks and is about to burst. Joe feels the same, except he's barely eaten one. The rest of the table mocks him for being such a wuss, and when they won't stop pestering him to finish his steak, the guy snaps.
Joe?
No! I said I'm not hungry! Where is it now, huh? Where is it now?
Easy, sailor. Easy.
Put the gun down, Joe.
Yeah, nobody's judging you, man. It's cool. I'll just put this back in your purse next to your tampons.
Pointing a gun at his pals doesn't only make Joe a terrible friend, it makes him guilty of unlawful display of a firearm. He could be handed 1 year jail sentence for it. He'd also be charged with vandalism for the massive hole he shot into the table. That would lead to another year in the clink. Like, just imagine getting 12 whole months of your life stolen all the way because you broke a dang table. The police play an important role in the functioning of society. They aren't some club you can just walk up to and join. That is, unless you're best buds with a negligent officer. Joe arrives at the Drunken Clam after a long day of badass cop duties like refilling shelf paper and looking after the office gerbil Lieutenant Nibbles, who by the way outranks him in the force. When he leaves to attend to another degrading job, the guys wonder if Joe is truly happy doing this kind of work. The next day, Peter's having car troubles and catches a ride with Joe. An incoming dispatch call informs him of a possible drug deal nearby, and Peter persuades him to check it out instead of doing his normal boring jobs. The two of them swoop in on the house and are are supposed to wait for backup, but Peter gets way too carried away playing cop.
Nice try, scumbag, but I got your squishy drugs right here. Uh-oh.
I love how he doesn't even look disgusted, just mildly disappointed in himself. Later that day, Joe picks up Peter and allows him to secretly accompany him on duty again. The pair cruise around Quahog, feeling like the coolest cops ever, and foil a bunch of crimes using Peter's super realistic disguises. Joe shamelessly steals all the credit, and after getting blackmailed by Peter, he invites his buddy along for one last bust for old time's sake. The last race went well, but Peter being the smooth-brained oaf he is, it is inevitable that something will eventually go wrong, and that day is today.
Am I getting the rubbish?
Peter, put the gun down!
On the floor, punks! Everybody dies! Ah! My already irritated eyes!
Joe calls for backup, but there's no time to wait around as Peter's already getting beat up with vaping accessories. So he wheels into the store and uses his awesome combat skills to kick the criminals' asses with just the strength of his upper body. Yeah, he works out alright. After realizing he fought this one all on his own, Joe feels really proud of himself for once. But allowing any non-officer, let alone a dangerous half-wit like Peter to accompany him on duty is clearly negligent behavior. So there's no way Joe's not going to be serving at least 4 years in jail for first-degree reckless endangerment. Dozens of innocent pedestrians could have been spotted on the pavement by that moron waving his gun here and there, and everywhere. If that doesn't diminish the pride he felt at the end of the episode, I don't know what will. Quahog cops don't make tons of money, so when Bonnie finally gave birth after 7 long years, Joe was desperate to pay off the medical bill. Susie Swanson has just been born. The arrival of his beautiful daughter should be a happy time for Joe, but he's too worried about the $20,000 hospital bill that he cannot afford.
Not being able to pay my child's hospital bill somehow makes me feel like less of a man.
Why the hell is he getting his diaper changed in full view of Cleveland's house? Joe uses a loan shark to pay the hospital bill, but now he needs $20,000 to pay the loan shark back, and there's only one way to raise that amount of money in such a short amount of time.
Wow, Peter, I gotta say, this lemonade stand was a really good idea. It's selling really well.
That's because it has my secret ingredient in it. Vodka.
Okay, I was totally expecting him to say pee there. As the lemonade stand clearly isn't going to work out, Joe tries to raise the money by opening an exotic massage parlor, but the women at Quahog have absolutely zero interest in getting touched by any of these guys, especially that pervy-looking one on the far left.
Oh yeah, just what I need, to be rubbed down by a big fatty, an old black guy, a cripple, and a pervert.
Raising the money himself obviously is not going to go well, so Joe turns to Lois's filthy rich father, Carter Pewterschmidt, for help. He gets the cash out for Joe, but there's no way this greedy tycoon fricker is going to hand over even a single dollar.
In about an hour, I'm gonna piss away 20 grand.
Because Carter selfishly drank away the money he needed, Joe gets beat up by the loan shark's minions. They'll be coming back soon, and desperate times call for desperate measures. This means Joe and the guys will have to rob stingy old Carter. They plan the heist for Saturday, the Pewterschmidt's annual bring all your cash and put it into our safe party, and considering the long guest list, there could be as much as $40 million in the vault. That's like $10 million each, more than enough for Joe to pay back the loan shark, and just about enough for Quagmire to produce his own movie. Peter is so excited to get sweet revenge on his jerky father-in-law for the first time in 20 years, and while Joe monitors the mansion from Spooner Street, he, Quagmire, and Cleveland execute the heist.
Looks like I'm just gonna have to cut through it. Good thing I brought Reese Witherspoon's chin.
Penile identification required.
Let me handle this.
That's amazing. How the hell did you match it?
Oh, I didn't match the shape. I just stuck it in there and broke it.
What is the most unattractive male first name in the English language?
Keith.
Joe tells the guys to grab the dough and get the hell out when Lois suddenly storms the very obvious surveillance van parked outside her home. She tries to talk Joe out of robbing her father and warns him that he'll get caught and will go to prison. That's a risk that Joe is willing to take, but Lois still pleads with him to think a little Susie.
You can't watch her grow up from jail. You'll miss running after her as she learns to walk. I mean, riding bikes with her as she... I mean, dancing at a wedding. Look, my point is, you know what you're doing is wrong.
Not Lois trying so hard not to offend Joe when he's literally trying to steal $40 million from her inheritance. Joe calls the heist off for the sake of his baby girl, but he does get the 20 grand in the end after Lois asks her father for money to hire a divorce lawyer.
Lois, you're joking, right? Lois!
Ha ha!
While Joe never actually stole any money from Carter, simply attempting to is enough to get him charged with burglary. And a conviction would mean 5 years in jail. But, I mean, at least he'll have his friends to keep him company. That's half of Joe's disgusting crimes down, and the cop's sentence has almost soared past a whole decade. If those crimes didn't make you think Joe should have his police badge immediately stripped from him and set on fire, just wait for these next ones. They're insane. Halloween is the season to scare, and Joe once pulled a prank so utterly terrifying on Quagmire that I'm surprised it didn't turn addict celibate. It's October 31st, and Peter tells Brian that every year his friends nominate one person in their group to be the butt of their awesome Halloween pranks. Glenn is hiding out at home, knowing his friends are onto him. It's not safe to leave the house, but he should be able to dash to the mailbox and back without getting pranked, right?
Guys, be careful. This isn't my box.
Oh, yeah, sure. And whose is it?
It's mine. I'm Dick Pump, and I'd appreciate it if you hooligans didn't get your eggs all over my parcel.
Sorry, I keep getting your mail, Dick. Hey, what's in there anyway?
Embarrassing stuff.
Whatever's inside, it can't be as embarrassing as the name Pump. There's no way that dude survived high school. Quagmire calms his nerves by doing what he does best, boning a chick.
Wow, that was terrific, Jessica.
It was good for me, too.
Got you again, Quagmire.
You said you were that waitress from Friendly's!
I lied.
You jerk!
I didn't feel anything, but you did.
Happy Halloween!
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Swanson, the prankster who went too far. As if tricking Quagmire into sleeping with him wasn't bad enough, Joe ambushes Glenn later that night with another sick prank.
Gotcha!
Ha! Hepatitis C!
Joke's on you, I already got it.
Meningitis!
I'm a carrier.
Gonorrhea!
Patient 0. You're gonna have to do better than that.
I don't know, Joe. That's it. We're out of known diseases.
Catching one of Quagmire's many STDs would be the ultimate payback for sleeping with him without consent. Joe's little pranks were not only demented, they were illegal. Quagmire never consented to screwing Joe, so the officer will be getting slapped with a 10-year prison sentence for sexual assault. And add 3 months on top of that for knowingly spreading disease. Sure, Glenn already had every STD under the sun, but it's still a crime nonetheless. You're probably aware by now that Joe sucks at being a cop, but the biggest screw-up of his career was that time Quagmire literally murdered someone, and Joe not only didn't stop him, he helped. Joe and Peter pay Quagmire a visit only to discover that he has unalived himself.
Holy crap!
Oh my God! He must have autoerotic himself.
Yeah, while he was watching clown.
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Dying while getting off to that is definitely in the top 10 most humiliating deaths on record. Joe checks Glenn's pulse, and he's still alive, barely. He's in a coma, and his sister comes to visit him in the hospital with her abusive boyfriend, Jeff. Through tears, she sings her brother a very concerning song from their childhood, hoping it'll make him feel better.
Glenn, don't die from autoerotic is gonna go fishing with you.
Childhood?
Tomorrow, October 31st, 2000.
Brenda's beautiful singing heals Glenn, and when he's discharged from the hospital, Jeff and Brenda stay the night. He's still recovering and needs plenty of rest, but he won't be able to sleep a wink with "I've never heard of anger management" Jeff in the house. He beats poor Brenda black and blue every day and night for 3 days. But Joe, an actual cop, won't do jack about it despite there being so much evidence of abuse. Quagmire stages an intervention, but Brenda won't leave Jeff because they're getting married and she's pregnant. Glenn's at his wit's end and sees only one option to protect her and the child.
3 of us. We go over there and we do what's bastard.
Whoa, Quagmire.
Joe pushes back on the plan at first, but after seeing Jeff hit Brenda with his own eyes, he's also down to kill this oxygen thief. Quagmire, Peter, and Joe invite Jeff on an annual midnight hunting trip, and the bastard, of course, jumps at the chance to kill some defenseless animals. They all gather around the campfire. Yes, I'm thinking of that SpongeBob song right now, and they try to act natural, but this wouldn't be an episode of Family Guy if Mr. Blabbermouth didn't screw everything up.
Come on, guts.
Well, what the hell are we doing out here? I thought we were gonna...
Oh, Jeff, do you like loud sentences?
Peter doesn't even look drunk. Like he's even that dumb when sober. Quagmire prepares his gun for when Jeff comes back, but gets a gun pointed at his head instead. Jeff knocks out Joe and Peter and forces Glenn to drive deeper into the woods, and when they're someplace nobody would ever see or hear them ever again, he tells Quagmire to get ready to die, but Glenn convinces him to settle this like men. And he probably should have just let Jeff blow his head off because his weak ass is about to die a slow and painful death. He's literally lying there like roadkill, and Jeff barely even has a scratch on him. Jeff starts digging a hole for Quagmire's body, but this creep is an experienced autoerotic asphyxiator.
The hell? I killed you!
Elf every day, you bastard!
Rest in peace, Peter's car. Burn in hell, Jeff. When the guys return home without Jeff, Brenda's beside herself worrying about what happened to him. But don't worry, Joe's got that covered.
Dear Brenda, I have decided to leave you. I'm too good for me, and you and our unborn child would be better off. P.S. If the cops Joe, Peter, and Quest night. Otherwise, I will come back and not only hit you, but I will murder garbage. And your baby is going to...
It's a little rough, Peter.
I didn't write it.
Well, it's gotta sound like he wrote it. Plus, she kinda is.
Pretty harsh, Joe. Pretty harsh. We can all agree that Jeff was an abusive a-hole who won't be missed, but that doesn't give Quagmire a free pass for killing him, nor does it get Joe off the hook for writing that note to cover up the murder. He didn't assist with the actual killing, so he can't be charged with accessory to murder. However, he did knowingly help Quagmire get away with his crime by writing that note pretending to be Jeff. If that evidence was presented to a jury, Joe would be sure convicted of accessory after fact. The penalty is half the maximum sentence for murder, so he'd be spending 12 years and 6 months in jail at the bare minimum. Jail time in exchange for saving Brenda's life is definitely a bargain for Quagmire. I don't think Joe would be too happy though. Watching two long-lost family members get reunited should be a heartwarming experience, but when Joe's father came to Quahog to see his son after years apart from him, he didn't even meet with the right person. Father's Day is coming up, but Joe hasn't spoken to his dad in years and has no idea where he is. Not wanting his friend to spend the holiday alone, Peter tracks Bud Swanson down on the internet and invites him to spend Father's Day with his son. While they were all expecting Joe to be over the moon about this, he's not happy at all. His dad has no idea he's a paraplegic and loves to make fun of the disabled, so there's no way in hell Joe is gonna let Bud see him in a wheelchair. But since his dad is already on the way here, he's gonna have to hide the fact that he can't walk. I wonder how these 4 rocket scientists will pull that off.
Check it out, Bonnie. This is how we're gonna...
Oh my God.
Yeah, it looks real. Pair of pants on the front legs of this horse and strap Joe to the behind the horse's neck. And then we put Cinnamon's head up the back and simply hid the rest of the horse behind this curtain.
Very moist, Peter.
And to induce movement, I'm gonna with this dampened kitchen towel.
Holy crap, he's out of control!
Doesn't look real!
Bud hasn't even arrived yet, and Peter's already driven the horse away. So how are they supposed to hide Joe's disability? By making Peter pretend to be Joe, of course. Quagmire helps him squeeze into a corset that hides most of his fat, but also makes him look like he has double D's. And after putting on Joe's clothes, he's ready to deceive his father.
Hi, Bud.
Dad? Joe, I'm Joe. You're my dad.
Wow, I guess it really has been a long time. I barely recognize...
Well, I could say the same for you. Sometimes I don't understand why people laugh.
Peter and Bud have a wonderful father-son day out, forcing 2 terrified girls to make out at gunpoint. What? And you're probably wondering what the real Joe is doing during all this. Well, he's not hiding in a closet or anything. He's actually taken Peter's identity and is off for a lovely Father's Day dinner with Lois and the kids. Yeah, he's got the glasses and everything.
Oh, this'll be fun. Takes them to get Gumby over there into the car.
Yeah,
That's the guy who emailed me? Huh. No wonder tons of typos. He's a waterhead, right?
Yeah, he's a mess.
Pathetic.
Hey, Stewie's a total cutie pie. The other 2, I get a lot. Peter's having so much fun with Bud that he invites the guy to move in with him permanently. And Joe is, of course, pissed about this. Later that day, Peter and Bud go outside to play catch together and mock Joe for struggling to take out the garbage. Peter walks over to him and orders him to go back inside since his mere presence as a disabled person is irritating. Joe has had enough and demands his identity back, but Peter ain't budging. He then starts a fight with Joe, forgetting that he's a literal trained cop. Huge mistake.
What the heck? Take that from him?
I don't like that! You're getting your ass kicked by a helpless, spaghetti-legged cripple!
What are you, son? You can't let yourself get beat up by a guy in a wheelchair.
Your son is a guy in a wheelchair.
Out.
Joe takes off Peter's glasses, and only then does Bud hilariously realize who he is. His son explains that he was shot in the line of duty and kept it a secret out of fear of being made fun of. Bud replies that he only ever mocked disabled people because he couldn't stand the thought of someone he loved becoming one of them, and the two make up with a hug. But their father-son time will have to occur behind a visitation barrier, as Joe is now spending 20 years in jail for that brutal attack on Peter. So as a paraplegic with 3 dumbass friends and colleagues who don't respect him, life can sometimes feel pretty hopeless for poor Joe. In the episode Jolo, he reached his limit. The guys are checking out a billboard for Zesto pudding, and Peter thinks there's real food in the bowl. He's gonna prove to his nincompoop friends that he is right here.
Peter, be careful up there.
Is it pudding? But there is a kid up here.
The kid must have climbed up there thinking the exact same thing as Peter. That is the literal proof he has the intelligence of an 8-year-old. Joe recognizes the kid as the missing boy who disappeared a week ago and calls the fire department to get Peter and Mikey down safely. Despite Peter finding a lost child by chance and Joe actually being the one who called for help, Mr. Griffin is regarded as a hero, and Mayor West awards him with a giant gold key to the city. Seeing the whole town honor Peter makes Joe feel sad and underappreciated, especially since he served on the force for 22 years at this point, and not a single person has ever clapped for him. He listens to Peter's speech and becomes completely inspired by this comment he makes.
When I saved that boy, I wasn't thinking. I just do.
That's why he's had ringworm 11 times. He will roll in anything.
Sure I did, Joe. I never stopped to think. That's why I've had ringworm 11 times. I will roll in anything.
Joe decides it's time for him to stop thinking and just start doing, so he immediately quits his job, breaks up with Bonnie, and wheels away satisfied that he's become a new Joe. The next day, he takes the guys with him on a road trip to Niagara Falls, but the natural beauty is sure to be diminished by Peter if he acts anywhere near as gross as he does in the car.
Man, I am filling these Gatorade bottles as fast as I'm drinking them.
Joe ignores Peter's confession to drinking his own pee as he's just spotted some cows that he wants to tip over because YOLO. He trespasses on the farmer's land, but pathetically fails to push a cow even 1 millimeter. The guys stop at a motel for the night, and while everybody's asleep, Joe makes yet another impulsive decision, this time by gate crashing a high school kegger party and bringing 3 emo teens back to the motel room so they can smoke croak with him. Subtle foreshadowing. They arrive at the beautiful Niagara Falls the next day. Everybody's in awe of the incredible waterfall, and Joe declares that it's the most magnificent place in the world, and
This place to end it all. Goodbye, fella.
Joe miraculously survives by getting caught on a branch, and the fire department rescues him after saving a backpack and hat first. Scared that Joe will become the 10th friend to kill themselves in front of Peter, the guys have him tied to a luggage cart and wheeled back to their hotel room. They need to take him back to Quahog so he can get the help he desperately needs, but since they're already here, they might as well enjoy the Whirlpool Aero car. The guys have a total blast, and the natural beauty of Niagara Falls is actually making Joe feel a little better. He asks for the door to be open so he can get some fresh breeze, and the idiots really should have seen this one coming. Peter, Quagmire, and Cleveland fall into the rapidly flowing water, and Joe tries to save them by reenacting everything he's ever seen in action movies.
Guys, keep swallowing water. We'll drink our way out.
Don't worry, I gotcha.
Wow, Joe can't even move his legs, but can still beat every single one of us in a real-life game of Temple Run. Seeing his friends almost die was enough to make Joe realize that his life really is worth living. Plus, saving them finally got him that applause he's been waiting his whole career for. Back in Quahog, Joe gets his job back and arranges for 2 guys to assault Bonnie so he can save her and be taken back. But when Tuesday comes, he forgets the whole thing.
And what about Bonnie? How you...
Well, I got a plan for that. I hired some guys to come to and assault her, and I'll come in and save her, and she'll be so to take me back.
Joe, today's Tuesday.
Well, poop.
The new Joe committed several crimes in that episode. He trespassed on agricultural land to try and push an innocent cow over. That'll earn him 1 year in jail. We got the croak situation. Now, croak is a street word for cocaine mixed with meth, and Joe can be charged with possessing both drugs, so we'll need to boost his sentence by an extra 6 years. In addition to that, Mr. Swanson's also getting 20 years for hiring 2 men to assault Bonnie. Thank the heavens her 7-year pregnancy was over by that point. Ever wondered how Joe ended up in a wheelchair in the first place? Well, he was shot on the job many, many years years ago, and he's been seeking revenge on the fricker who did it ever since. Joe is drinking at the Drunken Clam, and his attention is drawn away from his beer to the news as notorious fugitive Bobby Briggs has finally been captured after 15 years. This is a super emotional time for Joe, as that son of a gun was the guy responsible for putting him in his wheelchair.
Bobby Briggs, you're really here, Bobby Briggs.
Why are you tired? Oh, Joe Swansonson.
My undercut's a cop. They'll put you away forever.
Ready to spend them with an annoying voiced wife.
He'd met Bob.
So Joe was grunge back in the 90s. He looked so cool. It's a shame he lost his sense of style with the use of his legs. To celebrate the capture of the jerk who shot him, Joe throws a Justice for Joe barbecue at his place. But before he even gets to try a burger, Tom Tucker announces that Briggs has escaped custody and is nowhere to be seen. Filled with rage, Joe wheels right into the chief's office and demands to be put on the Briggs case, but is ordered to go back to solving the mystery of the guy who's been rubbing his butt all over the Dunkin' Donuts. After Peter suggested they go after the guy themselves, they all head back to Joe's and enter a room that shows how much of a stalker the guy's been these past 15 years. Joe reads Briggs' FBI profile and discovers that he dated a woman who currently works at a strip club in Atlantic City, so that's the first place they'll be heading.
Quagmire, you ever been to Atlantic City before?
At this point, there has to be one of Quagmire's spawn in every city on Earth. Glenn telepathically finds out Bobby Briggs' address during a strip dance with his ex-girlfriend, and the three guys soon swoon in on a 2820 Ocean and pick the lock to apartment 2. They spread out and explore the filthy rundown home, and while Peter goofs off at the trash compactor, Joe finds Briggs tucked up in his bed. He points his gun at him, but being an experienced fugitive, he escapes through the window. The guys race to the roof and chase after Briggs with a shocking amount of athleticism on Peter's part. That's his yearly 10 calories burned, guys. Quagmire hammer throws Joe to the next building, but he doesn't make it all the way. He's hanging by a thread, and all Peter has to do is pull him back up. However, taking a phone call from Lois is more important than stopping his friend from plummeting to the ground. He rescues Joe before he falls, and he and Quagmire throw him off to the next building. Joe's paralyzed legs break his fall, but all that effort was for naught, because Briggs has gotten away. And to make a bad situation even worse, the police are here to arrest the guys for interfering with their investigation. But Joe recognizes one of the officers as the cop who helped Briggs escape before. They've got to get out of there before these corrupt cops do something terrible to them. Luckily, Quagmire can solve just about any problem with his schlong.
Incredible!
Peter? We're gonna have to go with the acetylene torch penis. My STDs help it burn brighter.
Okay, let's go.
I don't even know what to say to that. They drive to the airport and catch the next flight to El Paso, Mexico. Yes, Joe is that determined to make this bastard pay. When they land, they wait in the scorching heat for Briggs at the US-Mexico border. And when he finally shows up, it's go time. Bobby Briggs is about to finish what he started all those years ago, but Joe disarms him in the blink of an eye. Now he has Briggs' gun, and Briggs has nowhere to run. Is he gonna kill him or demand a heartfelt apology? You never know with Joe.
I'm not married!
15 years for this moment, Briggs. Any idea yourself into a wheelchair? To have your wife look at you and parking. To board a plane early with the first-class people. All right, it's not all bad. But I'm not you.
So what are you gonna...
I don't arrest cripples. By the way, you're under arrest.
Joe only wanted to cripple Briggs, but accidentally shot a major artery. Now he's dead. But at least he died in a convenient place to dump a body. Now, you may be thinking that this was manslaughter, but that's actually not the case. Bobby died from intentional harm inflicted by Joe, and that's what makes this a murder rather than an accidental killing. If the jury found him guilty of murdering Briggs, he'd be spending the next 25 years in the Stony Lonesome with a minimum life sentence for murder in Rhode Island. Oh, and an extra 10 years would be added on top of that for stealing the cop car. You know, after Quagmire cut their handcuffs to this. You probably thought Peter was the worst friend ever, but in the episode Old World Harm, Joe did something so evil and psychopathic, I'm genuinely worried that he might be a secret serial killer or something. Lois has finally saved enough money to go on a couple's vacation, and that same day, Peter gets busy with another one of his Darwin Award-winning shenanigans.
To 1,000 and beyond!
That's as high as he can count.
Peter, what the hell?
Lois is already pissed at Peter for wrecking the house, but she's gonna be bloodthirsty when she finds out that he spent all the vacation money making that stupid DIY jetpack. However, Peter will live to see another day, as Joe has very generously allowed them to stay at his mom's condo in Florida. In the taxi to their destination, Lois is pleasantly surprised that her husband has actually managed to arrange a nice, normal vacation. But when they arrive, it doesn't take long for her to realize that she's in a frackin' retirement home. But soon the Griffins are enjoying being the youngest, healthiest people in the home. It's like everybody wants a piece of them.
Before we harvest the organs of these two young meatbags, decide who gets what. So if you want a body part...
Yeah, I'll take the udders and the hooves.
What? How?
That's a guy, but I saw him eating grass earlier.
I don't know, maybe he felt guilty about eating all that candy and tried to even it out by eating some grass? The residents eye up Lois and Peter at breakfast, and the couple remain blissfully unaware that the evil old folks are planning on having them butchered to death. But Lois later starts to sense something's up when she and Peter are strangely required to get their blood pressure taken for a couples massage. She sneaks around the back of the clinic and stumbles upon an organ room.
Ah, well, that's not so bad. Hard to misinterpret that.
Inside, there's a whole frackin' stock of harvested organs and a blueprint detailing which organs they'd want from her and Peter. Lois better get the hell back to Peter because his massage is about to get bloody real quick.
They're trying to steal our organs. Let's go! What's up?
At least some good finally came from that boxing career she had. The masseuse alerts the residents that their organs have escaped, and Lois and Peter get chased by the angry geriatrics on their mobility scooters. They make it to the gates, but the scary old people are closing in on them. Lois is ready to kick some senior citizen butt, but they all scram after realizing they are a few minutes late for dinner. The gate then opens, and the couple head home, wondering how the hell Joe was in the dark about all this. Or was he?
Did you get... Damn it! No. It's fine. I'll see if I can get Cleveland to go...
Shouldn't he be choosing a victim with a similar build to him? Like, Peter's obese legs will give him, like, a chronic chub rub, and Cleveland's... Oh, I don't need to tell you what's wrong with that idea. And besides, surely this selfish bastard's not actually heartless enough to maim another person, let alone someone he calls a friend.
Hey, bud, how was Florida?
Well, alright, never mind. Legs don't technically count as organs, so Joe can't be charged with illegal organ harvesting. He can, however, be charged with arranging the dismemberment of Cleveland's legs. That would fall under the crime of mayhem and carries a 20-year sentence. Let's not forget that the sociopath was in on the plot to murder Peter and Lois. The penalty for attempted murder is 20 years, so that's 40 for the foiled double homicide of his own friends. If we tally up all of Joe's crimes, his total prison sentence comes in at 179 years and 3 months long. But I guarantee you, there are other characters who make this corrupt cop's crimes seem totally harmless. Well, I wouldn't say totally harmless, but anyway, click the screen to find out all the unimaginably evil things these guys did.